Hi, everybody. This is a problem where we're going to deal with maps and we're going to deal with figuring out how big something is in square inches on a map and then converting it to how big it is in square miles. Okay, so we have a map where 1 inch, one of those little things they give you, 1 inch equals 100 miles. I'm trying to think of the name for it. Legend, I don't know. But anyways, this map is on graph paper where there's little squares on graph paper, and each little square is 1 inch by 1 inch. Half inch by half inch. The country that we're going to try to convert to figure out how many square miles takes up 16 squares on the map. What is the size of this country in square miles? So I think the first thing we got to do is figure out how many square inches it takes up. So they told us that it takes up 16 squares, right? So let's see. Well, first let's figure out each little square is 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch equals 1/4 inch squared. So each little square is 1/4 inch squared. The country takes up 16 of these, right? So you have 16 of these squares times 1/4 inch squared for each one. So 16 of these 1/4 inch squares, that gives you 4. So this country actually takes up 4 inch squares on this map. Okay, so now we have to convert it to miles squared. How do we do that? Well, let's figure out how many miles are in 1 inch squared. How do we figure that out? Well, if you think about it, a 1 inch by a 1 inch, which is a 1 inch squared, right, is equal to 100 miles by 100 miles, right? So 100 times 100, I think that's 10,000. So it's 10,000 what? Miles squared. Per what? For every inch squared, right? So it's 10,000 miles squared for every inch squared. So how many inches squared did we have for this country on the map? We have 4 inches squared. So the country takes up 4 inches squared, and we just figured out it's 10,000 miles squared per 1 inch squared. So inch squareds cancel out, and you get 40,000. What? Miles squared. Okay, so the key here was to first figure out how many inches squares that we have that the country takes up on the map, and we figured out it takes up 4 inches squared. Then we got to figure out how many miles squared are in 1 inch squared by just multiplying that by itself, actually, 100 times 100 to get 10,000 miles squared for every inch squared. And we end up having 4 inches squared. Do the conversion and you get 40,000 miles squared. I hope that helps.